And it's kind of it's going to be interesting to see how the crypto space moves in these next few years, because I think we're getting towards the early majority part of like mass adoption in the next bull cycle. Like everything seems primed, for that kind of thing where you might see 5 to 10% of people paying with a crypto in like a coffee shop in some areas or something, where it's not everyone, but it's like when Apple Pay came on the scene kind of vibes. So we'll see what happens, because for the longest time, I mean, it was Bitcoin was the proven model, and then you had like the 2013, I guess, like shitcoin boom, when everything was like, well, it's basically Bitcoin, but maybe one small parameter changed, and then that kind of washed out. And then 2017 is more of like the alt boom, where you had stuff that was, pretending at least to have a lot of the same decentralization type principles as Bitcoin that did meaningfully other things. But then this last cycle, it was a lot of not only DeFi and NFTs booming, but also a lot of chains that just gave up completely on like the sound fundamentals. Like, who cares? Like, I remember in the early days, like Litecoin had some sort of a issuance bug at the beginning, where a whole bunch of coins got created on the first day, but not really that many in result of its supply. Dash used Litecoin's code base, and the bug was exacerbated in doing that. And then for years, everyone was like, well, I heard that the supply was weird on the first day. And then, like, despite being super well distributed today, but then today, like, you have difficult. Like, who knows what?
It's the Dash. So when we would fork Dash, the problem is people would come in with all this hashing power, and they would just go bing, 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 and they would take all these coins, and then the difficulty would pop up, and then nobody could mine it. So then you'd have to put all this hashing power on here just to reduce. That's what was going on there that early, and then they changed the algorithm so it wouldn't do that anymore. I remember anyway, I recall.
Yeah, it's so. But people used to care. They used to be like, "This is a black mark on the project. We can't touch this stuff," and all this. And no one, like, does anyone know where all the Solana comes from or who has it? Does anyone care? No. The answer is no. Like, in that era, no one cared. In the last couple of years, no one cared how decentralized, how crony it was behind the scenes, how anything.
As long as they make money.
Doesn't make shiny thing happen. And then in this next coming cycle, what are we in for? Like, are we in for a back to fundamentals thing? I don't necessarily think so. But the cycle after that, I think we will.
People get burned, then they go to fundamentals.
6 or so years, right? 7 years.
Yeah. I always tell people to look at the project and look at the people involved in the project. If there's a bunch of marketing people and no developers, run. Don't look at that stuff. Look at their GitHub repo. Yeah. Look at what they're actually building in there and the people that are talking in there. And if it's like 2 guys, don't
on the other hand, though, I've kind of swung back to a middle point on that, because if there's no business and marketing people, that means that you're never going to have a good end user product.
No, you're right. There has to be a balance. But I'm just saying there was a complete pendulum swing. There were no developers and all these marketing people saying, we got the best, and look at this white paper, and look at this. Yeah, we'll get the developers later. Don't worry about that. And of course, it never happened. But
so, Joel, what's it like in your area? I mean, New Hampshire, live free, die free state. Are people using cryptocurrency a lot there? Are you getting some weird looks when you go to try to spend it?
It's a pretty, I wouldn't say it's like a crypto mecca right now, but it has very deep roots in the crypto world. So, for example, I think the Manchester crypto meetup is the longest running in the world, regular meetup in the world or something like that. It's really hard to get 100% on
these facts,
those claims. But in the early days, you had people like Eric Voorhees used to come to that one. Vitalik Buterin's been through there. Charlie Shrem used to come. And Lamasu is a New Hampshire company originally. The first ever Bitcoin ATMs came from New Hampshire. Free Talk Live was talking about Bitcoin after they had Gavin Andreessen, Satoshi's apparent heir, come on the show. And from that, Roger Ver heard about Bitcoin hearing the New Hampshire-based Free Talk Live, and that's how he got into it. And obviously the library protocol is based out of here. AnyPay, which is probably the best crypto point-of-sale system out there right now, is based out of here, or at least was in the beginning. And some of the first pro-crypto legislation happened here. there's still a picture of like Governor Chris Sununu holding up a sign that with like Monero Dash Zcash, like a bunch of like crypto logos on it from like, and that was back when the old Dash logo, the angular one, not like the more round. It's like, so it's like back in the day, and there were quite a few merchants that took crypto, like point of sale merchants for a while. So I went up to the Porcupine Freedom Festival in 2014, like mid 2014. I didn't bring any cash, and I survived the whole week just on Bitcoin because of everyone took it. And there's quite a few merchants that do take it, but it's not maybe one of the top places that does it. But the Free State Project, just having a group of individuals who care about this stuff, makes it kind of in like a social currency in amongst those kinds of people. And it's kind of strange because the crypto world is so fragmented these days, where you go to, I've been to like meetups and known people all over the world, and what does crypto mean to them is very different. Like there's a lot of people talking about trading strategies and stuff, and then there's people talking about all this like DeFi, degen stuff, and there's like a bunch of different areas, and that is kind of cool. But there's like a lot of people who have zero interest in like spending it as money, and I have a hard time respecting those people. I mean, I'm not saying they're not worthy of respect. I personally just don't, because it's like even if you're not focusing on that, if given the opportunity, you should be excited, right? I mean, you should be about this, I think. It's kind of the whole point of crypto is to start there. And the good thing about the New Hampshire crowd is it is very much of a, digital money to use instead of government money kind of vibe. So, yeah, that's continued on to this very day.
I think most of the early Bitcoiners were in that category. I mean, that's when I went to my first Bitcoin conference and talking to all these anarchists. I was like, where is this? What is this from? I'm a programmer, and this is an interesting field. And of course, then I took the orange pill completely, and that was, now I get it. Now I know why you want freedom. Now I know why you don't want the government to do this. Now I get why we want to decentralize everything and not allow people to because I worked on Wall Street, and we built all those dumb systems. So now looking at it where we can decentralize it, what an eye opener. And it changes you. It absolutely, people don't understand how Bitcoin is going to change you. If you learn about it, it changes you.
Yeah, it's a combination of learning about freedom and voluntary systems, and also just the rabbit hole of the technology.
Yep.
And it's funny because I've seen people who got into the digital cash era, and they're kind of like a little jaded now because you look at all the dumb stuff going on in the space today. And I never really got jaded because, I mean, the focus has sometimes been annoying. There's been a lot of lack of fundamentals and stuff, but like I see the technology was like, we'll show you how far the rabbit hole goes once you get the orange pill. It's not like you just get unplugged and you're there. It's like it's years and years of like going down. It's like, what else can we decentralize? How else can we run things?
That's what I tell people.
What
if
they
start off and they think of it as money, and
then
then they have another ephany, like, oh my gosh, it's this a statement of truth. It's more, and then they go down further, and then everything they start looking at they start applying decentralization to it.
It's awesome. Absolutely.
Nice.
So what's next for you, Joel?
Probably another coffee as far as today, but basically what I'm trying to do, I'm going to be writing for Human Events about crypto, which is interesting. It's my first writing gig for a non-crypto publication about crypto, which is I always like because that's where the crypto space knows very little about crypto, right? But the non-crypto space knows nothing. And it'll be fun to kind of crack into that stuff. I'm still building my channel and business, and so I can do the how to live on crypto and how to build a business on crypto next year. And that's kind of like most of my focus right now. And yeah, that's just, and I'm also an absolute like anytime, anywhere media person. So you might see me in some random podcast with, 3 million subscribers or 3 subscribers. It doesn't matter. I'm there all the time.
Getting the word out in any way possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
You seem like you're the right guy to do that. It also seems like you've got 2 pretty decent topics that you could have awesome books on.
Yeah, at some point. I mean, do people still read books? I read tons of books as like a young person, and I think I kind of, my attention span has gone down the older I get, where I'm just like articles or tweets is like or like maybe I'll put on a long form podcast while doing things like audio thing, but to just sit there and just go through
I
where did
struggle.
I leave the book?
I have to do that sometimes still, and I struggle to do it because you just want to go on YouTube or you just want to go somewhere and get the snippets and just piece it together. You don't need to know like the deep dive.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'll write some books at some point, and with a disclaimer of like, I don't read books, so can someone buy my books? They can read me and tell me if it's any good, because I don't know.
Well, listen, living
For
on
me, it really
living on
depends.
Bitcoin and talking about it, especially in the early days, is an interesting thing to do. I mean, it's, especially mostly here in the United States, you traveled, right? Or you were in Europe and you went everywhere. Where did you find it easiest to travel on Bitcoin? Where was it the most widely accepted? Besides New Hampshire.
Well, to be honest, in my experience, it's been New Hampshire, and everywhere else is worse. But that's only because I have not been able to travel to, let's just say, Tokyo during the whole or Bitcoin Cash boom, or like Western Australia when they had all that stuff, or there's a Bitcoin Cash conference in St. Kitts soon that I would like to be able to attend, but just other stuff is in the way. So I haven't been there. I have not been to El Salvador. And I was not in Venezuela during the big like Dash boom back then. so I have a biased sample size, what I'm saying. So yeah, Western Europe has some systems and workarounds and stuff. Central Europe, especially like Austria. Austria is a really good spot for that. I think there's a lot of merchants there. Not a lot, but there's enough. But that's kind of where it's been. So Austria. Switzerland, oddly not that much, even though, Germany, same thing. France is like a wasteland right now for crypto, I think, but hopefully they get on board. But yeah, that's kind of the overview of things. If you're going Central Europe, I would say Austria is a good spot to like use it.
Yeah, but it's invaluable, experience for you and just information. There's not a lot of people that are out there, talking about their experiences of being able to utilize that, especially in, different, geographies or geographical locations. So you're getting those opportunities. And I know some people don't like to read books. I still enjoy it. I like to, be able to pick the topic and really go down into that rabbit hole on the topic that I want to listen to. But that's just me.
So what do you think?
Well, I guess that'll be my next thing for 2023 and 24 is start working on a book or two.
Oh, so you are going to write a book?
Go for that.
So
Maybe. I mean, I've been writing my whole life. I think I write well. So
you do, and you should write about the early days of crypto because people don't we take it for granted the struggles and the things like that. But one of the things I was going to ask you is, what do you think the greatest barrier is for people? Merchants in particular adopting Bitcoin and taking it as payment?
Right now, it's infrastructure. It's the point of sale systems. Anyone in the world can start a website, start an e-commerce thing. There's a Shopify plugin. There's a WooCommerce this. There's everything. It's so easy. In the point of sale systems, first off, there's one good one for crypto called AnyPay. And like no one uses it. I mean, I know around here it's used, but like that's it. There's nothing else, and only certain. It's pretty cool in that if you accept like 5 different cryptos, it presents one QR code, and you can scan it, and it works. You don't have to have like drop down menu of whichever one. Just one in it, and by the time your thumb pad leaves the send button, it's like confirmed on the other end. It's like great, but not all wallets will know how to use those invoices. I think they're BIP 70 or BIP 270 invoices they use. And so not all wallets know how to do that. And so there's always that thing. But more importantly, the app is like it's a very lightweight, but it's a separate app. So like, for example, when I paid yesterday in crypto, I go to this French bakery. I'm like, I want this, that, and here's a total. So they get out of there, they close out their point of sale app real quick. And then they open this thing up and I scan a QR code and pay. Then they go back in and just record it as like a cash transaction or something, and then there you go. And a lot of merchants just won't do that. A lot of them are like, no, it's all got to be in the same system. And I'm not going to jump back and forth between apps. I'm not going to. That's a little bit annoying because I've seen other ones that just have a plugged-in phone on a stand that's just for taking crypto. And it's the same as cash. It's like you have to open the drawer for the cash and enter it. You can this is your drawer for the cash. But like, they want it in their system. So when Square puts it in there, when Cake puts it in there,
one of the struggles we had
all those
on
things
when we put a Bitcoin ATM in, we'd give them a point of sale system for free. Here's a tablet. We train everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We had two big problems. One, nobody ever came in and paid. So when somebody did finally come in and pay, oh crap, I don't remember how to do this. Like I opened this. I don't even know the passcode to get in this tablet now. Blah blah blah. So that was our one hurdle. And then the second one was that they had this second system that was not in their main accounting system. So they had a first data system or one of the payment processors that wasn't. So they have to put it in as a cash transaction, and it didn't actually exist, and it didn't reconcile. So at the end of the day, they're like, too big a headache. What was the advantage for them to do it unless they were a believer in Bitcoin? And that was one of the challenges we found.
Well, that's exactly it. It's either that or they're making money. And the only way they make money is they have a lot of customers. And that's honestly been the number one reason it's not really worked out is the consumer demand is low. I mean, around here you have people that will spend crypto on a daily basis. But
people in crypto don't like to spend their crypto. It's too hard to get. It's too valuable. I'll spend here. I got fiat. Take my fiat.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend my crypto.
I mean, I don't really have fiat, so it's different for me. But like, a lot of people around here will do it. They're just like they use it as money. It's a different habit. The thing is, it started ideologically for a lot of these people. That's why. Where then they got into the habit of doing it. But to convince someone to live on crypto, and this is something I'm like, I think about this stuff a lot because it's my life's work, I guess. But like, to get people to use it, okay, so you get a Coinbase account or something. Let's just pretend that's what you're doing, and then you buy crypto. You link your bank account. You buy some crypto for like a 1 or 2% fee or whatever it is, and then you have it in this little wallet, and then it fluctuates. It does whatever, and then you just like harass merchants. I want to spend this stuff. And then you have to do so much extra work training them or getting. It's like, why is anyone going to do that? They're just not. And so, what we're having right now is, first off, inflation is awesome for this because the old world is collapsing. It's terrible. Censorship's awful, and also there's a certain rise of interesting workarounds and all-in-one apps. So, for example, right now with the official Dash wallet that I use, it's the wallet I use the most right now. There's Coinbase integrated into the wallet, so you can just buy it right in there. There's like a one-click staking feature where you do like a partial masternode thing and can like earn like 7% or whatever on that. So people can like buy and earn. And then there's a integrated merchant map in it, which of course shows any merchants that accept it in the area, but also shows there's this company called Ionia that has this service for gift cards, which I'm sure everyone remembers the gift card age, but it's super smooth to where you can just go up to the point of sale. How much is it? $5.99. You hit $5.99 and then buy it in the wallet and scan the little barcode. It's a very smooth workaround for actually paying, and you get some discounts and stuff. And like all that in one app makes it so that the customer doesn't have to do all this nonsense stuff that I've been doing my entire life, right? They can just, like non-technical people can just start using this. And once you have that, then it's like, oh, I'll live on crypto too. I'll live on crypto. And then a bunch of people start doing it. Now you have an actual like consumer demand. Be like, oh yeah, I only go to like this big box store here because they have a gift card workaround in this little, Ionia thing. And then it's like, I would really like to spend to you, but like I just have crypto and I want to spend it there. And then they're really? And then they get on board, they get in the app itself so that you can look, where can I, right here. Now it starts to work out. We're getting really close, but the problem is it's always like a small improvement takes you from like 0% adoption to like 15% adoption.
That's huge.
It's like just that very small. It is. We're getting really
Once
close.
Once you hit that like peak, then all of a sudden merchants are falling. It's like websites. Why have a website? That doesn't make any sense. And everybody starts doing it. Like, maybe we should have a website. And then there's like, shit, we got to get a website. I don't know, just put something up. And I think the same thing will happen in crypto. Like, why don't you take crypto? That's stupid. Turn it on. Like, it's built into your payment processing system now. It's those systems to make it so simple for people that they don't know, they don't care about the process. They just know it works. Click. Like Apple Pay. You go boom, boom, done, and you walk away. It doesn't get any easier than that, really.
Yeah, and there's some companies like Ionia is one of them. Pay with Moon is another one. There's a few that let you buy an instant, no KYC prepaid debit card with crypto for an exact amount even, and so you can just, when shopping anywhere online, you can just say like, "This is what's going to be $25.59." You just buy $25.59 of a card and just spend it like right there. And you can also put those into an Apple Pay or Samsung Pay or whatever, and just tap and pay at any restaurant with crypto with you just bought like 5 seconds before, kind of. And so these workarounds are getting really close. It's still not as good as spending directly, but it's getting to the point where you can convince people to start trying to live on crypto, especially if they can stake and earn as well. It's like, oh, I just bought like out of my paycheck, let's just say $500 every paycheck, I would get in, like, I get in this wallet and then I stake it. You know, if someone does something like that, then they can just set to where only the interest shows up in the wallet, and they just spend the interest. Oh, look, it's free money. Not, obviously not free, but like it's, and then they spend it, and then that's kind of where it goes from there.
Nice.
That's cool. So I think everybody is kind of watching this push from the government as far as with CBDCs. How do you feel about them? But do you feel that a lot of that may push some of these merchants into accepting more digital currencies in order to help make some of these more legitimate forms of payment easier?
I don't really know how CBDCs are going to impact the rest of crypto adoption. I think it might make it so that once you overhaul your payment systems, now it's easier to do that. I think mostly CBDCs are kind of a reaction to the crypto world. Like,
agreed.
The old world was working fine for the people that hate us, right? And then they're seeing they're going to lose to crypto. They're like, well, we'll do our own. And I mean, to a certain extent, isn't like USDC kind of like CBDC, sort of like, or like how fundamentally is it different? I mean, fundamentally, the thing is, I think they also realize that the efficiency of this technology that's used for good with a lot of decentralization can make the bad stuff so much more efficient. I mean, it's not like the Federal Reserve. They print the money and then a bunch of banks store it. You know, independent banks, even though they're still kind of controlled, they're still influenced by the same, groups. They're still independent. They got to hold people's money. And then you got Venmo that's going to help you process it. And then MasterCard does this. And there's this patchwork of different merchants. So if you want to surveil and censor people, you need sharing agreements between these. You need to be like, call up everyone, say, hey, who spent what? Whereas when you have the Federal Reserve issues your account for the CBDC and just surveils everything it can censor at the source, that becomes not fundamentally different, but fundamentally scarier and more efficient in the bad things that are already happening today. And so that's I think they're kind of licking their lips at that. Like, well, what if we get to like do that? And then what if you start to, they're already doing different merchant codes with, I think, Visa for firearms purchases, for example. And what if they start, I mean, how much easier would that be with the CBDC, where now you can start to see, okay, well, we're going to do stimulus payments to people who are just clean, have not done anything sketchy. Like, well, maybe they're tied to spreading misinformation on social media. Like PayPal is already going to take people's money for that. I mean, and then you can just airdrop to all the non-problematic people and just start redistributing wealth away from dissidents towards, the ruling class and their people. And it could, I mean, I'm not trying to sound too scary, but could be really, really bad. And so that's why I think this next, I'm optimistic though, but I think these next few years are crucial when people start like living off of crypto. I mean, and I just saw some ad in Brave the other day that just for some company called Spritz Finance, which I've never used them, but that just lets you pay all your utility bills with only Polygon. I'm just like, wow, where did this come from? Like, this seems so
Polygon,
random,
really?
but like it's getting so easy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like the NFT pipeline. You mint all your NFTs, you do all your trading, all your income from that. You don't have to convert. You just pay your water bill right with it. And it's like we're getting so close that
It's almost like they
we're
knew
gonna
that
be okay.
that was needed for somebody like you.
Well, everyone knows. I mean,
Yeah.
all these
I mean,
ecosystems get built out.
I'll let you know if I pay my water bill with Polygon one of these days.
But I'm also the CDBC. I don't think they're that big a threat. At the end of the day, the only way they're going to get people to use them is give it away. So okay, people are going to take it because they're going to give it for free or their returns or whatever, some method of getting it. But at some point, they're going to do some monkey business like this, and people are like, why would I want to hold this anymore? I'll go over here and self custody my own stuff and hold gold, hold Bitcoin, hold something else. I don't want to hold this thing that the government literally could just turn it off, and I'm like, wow. I mean, I know they could take it right out of my bank account, but it's a whole nother thing. They just turn it right out of your wallet. No way.
The weaponization of money for CBDCs. I mean,
it's inevitable. It'll happen, but
scary part.
But there's better competition out there now,
Mm-hmm.
so that's the thing. It's for them to make a big transition. Like you made in the beginning segment, you said something about there was a big moment when Nixon took us off of any kind of standard backing. Nobody even noticed. There wasn't there wasn't anything on the record. Nobody was like, whatever, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
The world didn't
nothing.
stop.
Like that's one of the most
Your money
significant events
sucks,
in
that's all.
history, and you don't learn about it. Nobody cares about it. Just whatever. Nothing's back anymore. We're just going to continue on. I think.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about Roosevelt just took everyone's gold,
Right.
like like pirate style.
People don't know
Give
that.
me your
People don't
gold.
realize
Just like took people. Like, can you imagine people today? Like, can you imagine? Let's just say Biden or successor coming in and saying like, "Give me all your bitcoins. Like, we're taking them all. We're only using." Like, that would not fly today. I don't care how dystopian the world's gotten. That would not fly today.
See, but the thing is, they
And
can't
I
take
think
it
that
like they can
CBDC
gold.
yeah.
Gold, they could physically come to your house and take it. Bitcoin, how are they going to take it? There's,
Yeah.
I mean, you could try.
Not without a lot of investigative work and a lot of coercion, but yeah.
Yeah, the
Definitely
CBDC thing is interesting because I do think that on some level, I mean, I think that it will possibly now that I'm thinking through it, it probably will push crypto adoption further for two reasons. First off, it'll just normalize not only completely digital payments, but also like just a new way of paying. There's people doing cards for like since the 50s, I think. I think that's when they first started with cards. So it's first going to change that part, but also because of the ease of censorship, like this whole PayPal nonsense and stuff, is going to ramp up. And one thing it's been a difficult case to make to people up until the last few years. Is like, why should I use crypto? It's like, well, my dollar is stable. Well, I can buy anything I want with it. And they're not wrong. It's relatively stable. They could buy anything they want. Kind of like why Open Bazaar had issues is because you can go to Amazon, buy all the things you were going to use Open Bazaar for. It's just there's nothing you can't really buy. But then now it's getting where 10% inflation plus, and they're not going to be able to stop that. Now it's like, oh, my money's going down. Now I need something different. And then also, oh, I can't buy everything I want. Now I need something different. Like, I'm going to buy a gun. And it's like, oh, because like my neighborhood's getting sketchy, which a lot of neighborhoods are. Not here in New Hampshire, but everywhere else, right? And then they're like, okay, I want to buy a gun to protect myself and my family because the police got defunded in my area or whatever else, or they're just too busy doing something else dumb. And now you're like, well, I'm thinking twice. Like, how's this going to show up on my like social credit score? Well, not which doesn't officially exist yet, but people are noticing. Like, how's this going to show up? Are people going to come to my house? Like, do people know? Am I on some sort of list? I don't know. Or like, I want to donate to this political candidate here, but now it's not the gentleman, like post 2016, it's not the gentleman's agreement of we hate each other, but we'll respect the winner kind of thing. We're all still Americans. That's gone. Now it's like war. So if you are part of the other tribe, whichever tribe it is, there's a lot of like, you don't want that data. Your life can be ruined for that. And so people want to be able to contribute anonymously. Yeah. People want to be able to contribute anonymously, or at least in a way that does not link them in some sort of way that like jeopardizes their job and their other things. And so people are going to want to do business in private money as well. And so, yeah,
the
it's
idea that your
I think that
behavior changes,
yeah.
like this is really what we're supposed to be protected from. The idea that you would buy something on Amazon or go buy something somewhere or donate something somewhere or whatever else that you're going to do, that's nobody's business. That's nobody's business, and to not even be able
Absolutely.
to do that, not because of some kind of regulations or laws, that seems absurd to me.
Yeah, and I think that we're going to get into an interesting new world because in the past, like the technology just wasn't really there for mass surveillance the way it is today, and so with like a cash only economy, people somehow managed to stop criminals and deal with thefts and conduct business in a cash only economy with like anonymous, untraceable money, pretty much. And they figured that out back then, and now they're saying, well, we need our fingers and everything. Well, no, you just need to go back to the old days where you have to actually catch criminals and not just surveil everyone. And so I think we're getting back to that. We're in this interesting era where so many people's identity, it's gone from like a KYC world where everyone gives their government issue identity to like the email and phone number part, like kind of world, which is, there's a lot of similarities, but you can also fake emails and stuff. And then now where it's really going to get interesting is in the decentralized digital identity realm, where everyone's logging in with your MetaMask or whatever. Once that becomes like an actual identity kind of a thing that's not tied to who you are, what your birth name is, all that kind of stuff, where you could potentially have multiple identities, but they're all their own sort of a thing. And then that becomes the basis for transaction and other things. I think that we're going to have the government's just going to have to like adapt. I think they're going to have to take their, cut their losses and just say, look, we just want you to pay your taxes. Like we just want your money.
You're too optimistic. I don't think that's the case at all. I think for sure they already have laws in place to require you to identify people, and so a digital identity quote is not going to be enough. They're like, no, we want government issued ID. If it's not government issued ID, it doesn't. And so they're not going to put the burden on people. They're going to put the burden on businesses and banks and things like that. So you won't be able to do business with them, and they'll be responsible for that, which is the way it is today. And so they don't need to change anything. It's already there.
Here's a good example of kind of like what Joel is kind of talking to is, so let's just talk a moment about Celsius. So Celsius goes through, not a bank, the unbanked, slogan that they have. They have to file, bankruptcy. And what do they get out of bankruptcy court? Because they're not a true financial institution, they're not a chartered bank, they had to release everybody's information. All their personal financial information came out because in a bankruptcy hearing, everything is public. And so these are the types of laws that I see, kind of like what Joel is talking about. These are the things that need to be experienced and need to eventually be updated. I don't think it was fair of all those people to have all their information put out there, and hopefully it doesn't cause them any problems or make them more susceptible to fraud and scams.